So hi everyone, welcome to Marketing from the Edge, the marketing show. I'm joined today by Mandy Pearse, CIPR President-elect 2020. So for people watching this in 2020, what does that mean? And people watching this in 2021, what does that mean, Mandy?
The Chartered Institute PR is the only royal charter body for public relations. So we provide professional development, training and chartership. As CIPR President-elect, that means the membership elected me to be their president next year. So I'll be the president of the Institute in 21. That also means I'm already a board member, but it means I chair the board for the business next year as well. And I'm the kind of lead professional. So I will champion the industry, be out talking to business bodies like the CBI about the value of PR to business.
So in 2021, you lose the elect and you are the president.
Yeah, so from 1st of January, I'm the president of the Institute for the whole of 2021. So it's going to be a challenging year, but
it's a very quiet time to just slip into that role, haven't you, in terms of the world turned on its head in 2020, and which is why we're here really, and to sort of reflect, I suppose, on 2020 and wow, what a year. But also, I think to kind of pull out some nuggets and some learnings to think, okay, so therefore in 2021, whether we're your marketing and PR professionals enjoying this and thinking about that, or business people, founders of brands, that kind of thing. Because 2020, well, in terms of PR terms, it's been a pretty tumultuous year, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think whether you're in PR, marketing, or you're a business owner, which obviously I am as well, and I'm part of running the business of the CIPR, it's been overused, but it is an unprecedented year. I don't think any of us in 2019 could have seen this coming, but we've all had to be flexible, adaptable, and take our staff and our employees and our volunteers, if that's the type of business we are, with us on a really roller coaster journey, which has been exciting and scary for all of us. And I think looking into 2021, it's thinking, what do we learn and how do we take that forward to be more successful in 21?
You know, the pandemic's been a universal experience, but also very individual, you know, for people to affect in different ways. And I think the same is true for brands, actually, because there was no guidebook, there was no handbook, there was not a consultant that said, oh no, this is what you need to do. Whenever we have a pandemic, you do this, of course, you get this playbook out, because there was none of that. And so actually, people were having to kind of make decisions very quickly about how to respond, how to engage with your customers, with your internal comms, that whole piece. Mistakes were made, you know, and there's some great practice, but also there's some, you know, things that probably were not done as well as they could have been.
Yeah, I think you know, all of us can look back and think, actually, I could have done that better. There will be things like that. There'll be things where I think, yeah, I really got that right. And I think, you know, we need to just not beat ourselves too much about that. No one had, as you say, a playbook for this. So we just need to say the things we didn't do so well, what do we learn from that? How do we take that forward? And the things we did brilliantly, how do we build on that and make that even more successful next year?
Have you got an example, perhaps a bad example and then a good example?
I think with brands, it's about sensitivity. So those brands that engage with their customers and focused on their customer need or focused on national good really came out of it well. So those brewers and distillery manufacturers who switched production into hand gel early on just showed that understanding and sensitivity to what we were going through. Whereas those brands who continued to just try and push product and sales got quite a severe customer backlash. So, it is that point about being tuned into your customers' needs, being authentic, and being the best you can be for your customers, rather than, I think at the moment, it's very much consolidating with loyal customer base rather than chasing new customers, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, listening in 2020 was a great time to listen and ask, what do you need right now from us? You know, and I think there's definite variation around that. In the very early phase of that first lockdown, a lot of comms went quiet. There was this amazing kind of all the emails and everything else and engagement seemed to stop for a while. And then there was sort of, we started getting all these kind of we're here with you, which some of them were nice and felt real. And then it's sort of, hang on, every brand is doing this in a way. And I didn't realise I was signed up to so many different things. Like some obscure tech platform that I might have downloaded a white paper from somewhere is emailing me saying, we're really thinking of you at the moment, you're on our site. I said, well, I don't even know you. And you send me a generic email that you sent out to 200,000 people, which is not that special.
Yeah, and that's where personalised messaging and authenticity comes in. Talking to customers that you've talked to in recent months, but customers you haven't spoken to for ages, you need to be very careful about the tone and what you're saying to your customers. So it's very much being authentic, being real, but also thinking about, where are my customers? What is their thinking point at the moment? What do they need? Is it reassurance? So if you're in travel and hospitality, some of our businesses in Southwest have played a fantastic year in terms of reaching out to their customers, reassuring them, talking about how they could transfer bookings into 2021 if they couldn't come away in 20. And some of them have done really, really well at that. Others didn't get the tone quite so right, and that is unfortunate, but we need to learn and move on.
That learning piece is so important, isn't it? And the Marketing from the Edge report, based on a survey, and just asking people, how's your comms been in 2020? And there's some really clear things in there, in terms, of course, remote working, using digital tools, using technology, using Zoom, using Teams, and a great digital shove that so many organizations have had, and that has opened up opportunities, absolutely, in terms of PR, marketing professionals and who we engage with, etc., but also for brands. But if you look at some of the stats, content is still so key, storytelling is still so key, video, blogs, they're all on the up, and I guess you're seeing that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Having a consistent story and narrative about your brand, and where you've come from, where you are now, and where you're going. And the brands that do that storytelling really well just shine. So that's important. Yet getting the content right, good organic content can still achieve quite a lot on social and digital, even though paid for advertising is sort of preferred by the algorithms. Really compelling video, great blogs still work really, really well. So it's thinking about, how can I make great content about my brand, and never consider that your brand is boring. I meet people who manufacture or do hard engineering, and they don't necessarily always think that what they do is interesting, but it is. There's always someone out there who will be really interested in the background, the story behind the scenes.
And this year, into the people and connection has really come to the fore, and the brands who thought about it and thought about, because audiences are never static, they change, and this year more than ever, and people at home and stuck at home, and people worried about relatives and what have you. Everyone's situation might be very different. I mean, classic example of that, a company we work with, Jurassic Fibre, rolling out fibre broadbands, they were key workers. So, broadband was seen as an essential part, but they were also getting challenged and asked in the street, what are you doing? You're spreading the virus. How do you combat that? How do you engage with people? You tell stories. You tell the stories of the people who live locally, who work locally, who are recruited by a locally based company, who are providing broadband to people at a time when suddenly your grandparents and others are trying to grapple with technologies they probably didn't have to grapple with before.
Absolutely, and you see those staff stories being really powerful. I mean, particularly the NHS has levered that really well. So close to home, University Hospitals Plymouth have done a cracking job of telling the story of what their staff are doing, and Anne James showing really great chief executive leadership, being very visible, very human. And that has reassured people about using the hospital, and about when to use the hospital and when is appropriate, and that they will have a safe, secure experience when they do. So they've done really, really well with that.
And I know one of your areas, you're an advocate, have got to do the research. You've got to understand the data, and obviously the tools that we have now to do that has changed. But I was saying to someone the other day, 2020 has been a year of data. It's been a year of graphs. It's been a year of scientists standing there with almost like their kind of whiteboard graph saying, this is the numbers, this is what's happening, this is the predictions. And if they ever get it wrong, if that, the graph that was a few days out of date, the backlash, it kind of shows how the public perception, the conversation, the narrative actually driven so much by the stats, the data. For us, building campaigns for our clients or in-house, actually, there's a lesson there probably.
Yeah, there's this bit about rooted in evidence. You still need, absolutely the creativity, and business owners always bring that extra sparkle to how they want to approach things. But at the same time, we have to use the data. We have to understand the customers. We need to know the channels they work on, the type of content that appeals to them. And we can do that in a much more sophisticated way with all the digital marketing tools available to us. But it is understanding all the hard numbers. And for PR people, that has always been a little bit of a challenge, but it's something we're really beginning to build with in terms of data and stuff. So yeah, do the research, understand the metrics, do the Google Analytics, understand all that customer journey and pathway, so that from the moment the customer starts thinking about buying the product or service, you can track the journey all the way through and really understand the key points to engage with them.
Yeah. Now, one thing that the survey revealed into the Southwest brands is, unsurprisingly, people stuck with what they knew. We'll stick with these core channels. We'll keep it simple. This is not a time for kind of experimenting. Probably didn't see a big increase in podcasts. Not many people jumping on TikTok. Instagram is growing, but still there's plenty of brands, especially in the B2B environment, who're still not totally sort of sorted with their video content, that kind of thing. Do you think 2021 we will start to see some of these things? You can't stand still, can you? Because your audience doesn't stand still.
I think it is understanding your audience is absolutely core to it. If you've got a business which is very visual, like hospitality or tourism, and you're appealing to a sort of mid-range audience, then Instagram could be an ideal place for you to be. If you're business to business, then that perhaps doesn't feel right, and you need to build more on LinkedIn. So it's thinking about the right content. But certainly video has been, for the last 5 years, the kind of growth story continues to be, because all the algorithms will give precedence to video content, particularly LinkedIn as well.
Never enough time to cover everything. And obviously 2020 was such a big year, sometimes it's hard to know where to start. But I think positivity is one of the things I've really tried to latch on this year in terms of is some of the positive things. Do you think going forwards in terms of what we can take out of 2020 that's going to help us as we kind of develop our strategies?
I definitely think that in times of darkness, having that positivity, that sense that we will go forward together and we will thrive together is really important. It's what people want to feel. So, that authentic bit of talking to the heart as well as the mind is really important. So the language is really important. Having a positive message, giving a positive vision of the future, whether you're charity, a commercial business, it's saying to the customers, there will be a better future and we will go there together. I think is really important. It's what people need. It's been a very challenging year for many people on many levels. So we need to acknowledge that.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. Now, this show is called Marketing from the Edge. That's a pun in the sense that we're a Southwest-based agency living and working in the Southwest. You're even more on the edge. You live by the sea, don't you?
I'm about 20 metres from the edge, so I'm not very far at all, especially this morning. I think it is that thing that makes the Southwest so special. It is our real selling point that we have great hospitality, tourism, so lots of great things, good museums, lots of culture and arts. We have good technology now, so we're building that infrastructure, and it's just a great place to live and work. So we have a lot to sell in terms of what we do.
It's been remarkable this year in 2020 in terms of geography doesn't matter so much. And so for regional agencies and consultants and others, some of the conversations and companies and people we've connected with, and you're able to, that has been, I think, another positive to come out of this year.
It's been a massively shrinking world. I've spoken at conferences that were technically based in Australia, Asia and China, but because of the opportunities, they've extended their reach globally, which means being able to speak to people in the USA, in South America, and Africa, and just seeing the breadth of talent we have in the industry has been just really energizing.
If we can retain some of that going forwards, I think that's a shift. I don't think that's going to go back. it'll be really interesting to see another big area into events and digital events and hybrid events and how that evolves now going forwards. You know, we're a great lover of Hopin.
Hopin's been a great platform. I've done a few conferences on that, and I think it's worked really well. And I think the more immersive platforms have really allowed people to have quite a good digital experience, which I think a lot of people initially thought on a conference they weren't going to get. More to learn, and I think we will probably move back to some hybrid, because I think a lot of people are missing, particularly in business, that kind of face-to-face contact, that sense of really knowing your partner, your supplier, your customer in a better, more real way, I think is important. So I think we'll move back to some hybrid when we can.
A blended approach is probably how it will, you know, somewhere, and then different people will find on different brands will be kind of along the spectrum within that. Mandy, thank you. That's been really fascinating. Hey, one thing I was going to ask you, you know, what's the most on the edge thing that you've done then in terms of a career or personal?
I think probably for me, it was setting up my own business in 2012. I did that after I'd been quite ill, and it had given me a point of reflection, and it made me realize that I really wanted to own my own business. I wanted to help other businesses thrive, and I wanted to be the best PR marketing professional I could be. So it set me on my journey with my institute to become a chartered PR professional as well as a chartered marketer, and towards being president of the institute. You know, it was not a great time to start a business right in the middle of a recession, but it has proved to me that if you have that engagement with your customers and you build those relationships, you can thrive.
Isn't that amazing as well? Because if you reflect on that in terms of so many people going through that experience in 2020, and as we go into 2021, and you know, your role now as CIPR president, and that's quite exciting as well in terms of it's such a key time in terms of, you know, supporting the industry, rallying the industry, shouting for the importance of PR. So good luck in all of that as well. We shall watch with interest here at Astley Media. That's going to be a really exciting journey for you. So thank you so much. Thank you for being part of Marketing from the Edge. Thanks, Mandy.
Bye.